All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be an introduction to our Apache NetBeans. Our NetBeans is a really simple interface. This is the interface we're going to use to program our Java programs. In here, we got to start by building a new project. So we'll grab new project right up here. We could also have used that icon right there. And in here, it gives us a number of different options. There's Maven, and Maven is a little more complicated than some of the other versions down here that we're going to work with. Gradle is fairly new and efficient. We're going to work with that. Java's with Ant is an old way of building the programs. As far as in the background and compiling things, we're going to work with Gradle. It's nice and straightforward. So if we select Gradle, we're then going to select a Java application because that's what we're going to build. We're going to build applications. And we'll hit next here. And then it's going to say, hey, what do you want to name your project? So we're going to name our project Hello World is what we'll name our project. And then its package base name is going to be Hello World. So inside the project we have packages, and inside the packages we are going to have main classes. The main classes is the code that's going to execute. So we can call it pretty much the same thing. You can keep it uppercase, you can keep it lowercase. Sometimes I like to make it just slightly different so that it's easy for me to tell what it is I'm looking at, whether I'm looking at a problem with the package or a problem with the class. So I made it just slightly different, and then I will go finish, and then it'll take a few seconds and NetBeans will make us all of the necessary files that we need. Now it's going to give us this here as far as default code. Never erase any of the default code. Don't delete it. It's all useful to us. It's got the name of our package. It's got the name of the class. Now, up in this top area between the package and the class is this documentation code. You know documentation code because it always goes /** and ends in like //. This code is light gray. It'll be ignored by the program, but it's there for information. So what we normally do in this area is we give it a little description of what our program is going to be. So here I'm going to go my first Java program. God, I'm having a hard time typing today. My first Java program at author, and I'm just going to put in my name here. And then what we normally also throw in here is the date. So today is April. God, terrible typing today. April 14, 2020. All right, and that's good enough for now. So it's identifying what the program is, who wrote it, and when they wrote it. And those are Java docs. Every time we do a program, you want to put your Java docs in. It's going to help somebody else who comes to read your program and help you a little bit, especially when we get to more complicated things. Now, the next bit. We've got the public class here. This is our main class. This is where we're going to code everything we want to execute. Each line of code, by the way, is known as a statement. So every time we got a line, we got a statement. So here we got 1, 2, 3 statements so far in this program, because those are the lines of code that are going to execute. All of that light gray stuff isn't. Now, you'll also notice in these programs that we have braces. Sometimes in math you guys call them curly brackets. These are braces. Braces are holders for code. They are like the bookends for things. The good thing is they always come in pairs, and each time that we click them, you'll notice it lights it up. The last thing you're going to have on every program is this particular symbol, this close brace, which is going to close your class. Now, this line right here, public static void main string args, this is known as the main method. The method is the code that's going to execute. This is the main method. This is the one that's going to pretty much override most of the other parts of the program. So right here in this to-do code, this is where we're going to put all the code that we actually want to execute. So we're going to write a really simple piece of code here. We're going to just have the program print some information out for us. So to do that, we use the command systemout.print. Now, systemout.print will give us will print information out to the screen for us. Now, what's also nice about Java, and I'll just back up a bit, is every time we give it a command and then we hit period, what the NetBeans IDE is going to give us a bunch of hints. What do you want the system to do? Which is good. It gives us hints, and I'm going to put out, and then I'm going to hit dot, and then it's going to say, hey, you can do all of these different things with the system out. but I'm just going to type print, and then I'm going to open a parenthesis. And when I open a parenthesis, what's nice is it also closes a parenthesis and gives me a semicolon at the end. Now, not every line needs that, but most lines do. Most lines end with a semicolon. All right. Now, to get something to show up on screen, I'm going to put in a set of parentheses. And also nice is it gives us an opening and closing parenthesis. And when it gives us an opening and closing parenthesis, it's one of those things that also needs to come in pairs, and it puts the cursor right in the middle so we can print what we want. So we're just going to type in hello world, and then I'm going to put in a exclamation point. That's nicely done. And believe it or not, ladies and gents, that's like the first program you're going to write. Now, we can execute this program fairly straightforward just by hitting the run project right up here. And down in the bottom output window is going to give us the basically readout on whether or not the program works. So it's going to give us a little bit of background stuff on what the program is doing. It's compiling the Java, basically making it useful for the computer. And then it is giving itself a task of run, and then it's printed out on the bottom of the screen, hello world. It's not exciting to look at, but it's worked, and it says your build is successful and first program is written. So I'm going to pause the video here for a bit, or you should pause the video here, and I'd like you to make sure you get that in, because then I'm going to make a couple of changes. All right, now that you've paused the video and you've come back, I'm going to make a few changes to this. Now, I just want to get used to using like system outs and prints, and I'm going to add another command in here, which is going to be a little different than the print. So we've got systemout.print. I'm going to add another line here, system.out.print, and the exact opposite of hello world, of course, is goodbye world. And with our goodbye world, and if we print that out, and I need to end this with a semicolon, once I do that, hello world, goodbye world, and I run the program, what you're going to see is even though we coded it out on two different lines, when you are finished running the program, it runs them one directly after the other. What the print does is it puts the information out to the screen, but it uses the next open space in order to do so. It doesn't reserve any lines. So what I'm going to show you is how we can get these things on different lines. So to get them on different lines, we can add a slightly different command. We can use the print line command. Now what print line does is it reserves a whole line for the code that comes after inside the parentheses. So if I run this is a print and this is a print line. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Let's put a print line up here. There we go. There we go. So this reserved a whole line for this and a whole line for that. Now we could change it up a little bit if you wanted two things to appear on the same line and slightly differently. I'm just going to put a print there. I'm going to copy this line here, and I'm going to put it right in here. I'm going to get rid of the world in this one and just leave hello. And then I'm going to get rid of the hello in here and just leave the world. As you'll notice, I left a space in this one. Because I left a space, it will print a space, which means it'll keep these two words apart. So if I do a print there and a print line here, it should make the hello and the world look like they belong on the same line. And then that print line up here knocks goodbye world down below. So these two things, you can end up showing up on the same line, even though they're on separate lines. That space here is this space down here. Really simple. This is your first program. Now below on the in the Moodle, you'll notice that there is a booklet for what it calls Chapter 3. That's what I'd like you to work through. It doesn't take very long. Only take you maybe, an hour or less to work through. And starting tomorrow, I'm going to post Chapter 4 stuff, which is going to get us into more complicated stuff. Will get us into variables and a variety of things like that. If you got any questions about this stuff, Drop me a line and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions.